Hey everybody, Dave Whitmarsh, CEO of Whitmarsh Consulting Group. Doing a webcast today on team set salaries with Klaus from Percival. We've worked together on a couple projects, and I'm pretty sure that you guys are really going to see something in here that's a little different that you haven't seen anywhere. So I'm excited to share this with you, and welcome aboard here, Klaus.
Thank you, David. What I'm going to share today is a process and a tool I created. When I was a manager, I had a team of 60 employees and another fellow manager, right? A partner and myself, we were managing these 60 employees. And compensation, having to appraise these people and negotiate with these people, and compensation was becoming a nightmare. And I didn't want to use traditional 360-degree reviews because I didn't want to personally have to calibrate the results. I wanted the team to be able to tell me, collaboratively how much each person should get. And I'll show you how this works without creating, that huge inflation that everyone should get a raise and things like that. So our goals, right? My goals were at the time, the process I call team set salaries, okay, TSS. And the goals are to engage talents, right? To motivate people, to make compensation fair. That's extremely important, that people that are perceived by the team to have the same contribution, right? We're talking about paying for performance, paying for people's contributions. It's important that to people that have the same perception of contribution in the team are paid the same. And if someone, has a slightly better contribution, should pay more, and vice versa. We want this to foster collaboration and not individualism, right? It's no use implementing a competition to achieve this. And also, we wanted this to be done in a reasonable time, right? And not have, days and days of appraisals and discussions and calibration and stuff like that. Some of our clients that use our tool, they use Percival, they used to spend like over 20 hours every performance cycle, every 3 months. Imagine 3 working days just in the calibration phase. So that's simply too much. We want to reduce that time as well.
Yeah, and never mind on top of that, everybody, managers and employees, all hate to do that process.
Oh yeah, it's really stressful. So a few years ago, most companies, even large companies, they simply decided to let's abolish performance appraisal altogether, right? And then, okay, but how do I pay people? How do I know how to promote, give people raises and pay them fairly, right? So that was throwing the baby out with the bathwater, as they say. So our first principle here is to embrace subjectivity, right? It's impossible to, in a team where you have like an agile team and it's collaborative, multi-skilled, autonomous, people are doing all sorts of different things. They're working together. They are helping each other. They're teaching and learning all the time. It is impossible to do an objective measurement of performance. It's not like building gadgets in a factory when you can measure how many gadgets someone has built and pay them according to that, how many pieces someone has produced, right? Piecework. So in a collaborative team, multidisciplinary, agile team, you have to embrace subjectivity. Okay, so the question becomes who in the end will give the final answer, who will make the final decision regarding people's compensation, right? Normally it's only a single manager or a group, like a committee deciding, doing calibration. And what team set salaries allows us to do, it allows the team to express this subjectivity. It allows the team to participate. So you can have the calibration, you can have compensation done collaboratively and not by a small group or a single manager, okay? The problems with traditional compensation processes, right? Overhead, many hours spent by management team members. Little boxes. This is an attempt by some companies to sort of have very limited specific job descriptions for people, and that sort of limits people and isn't the spirit, right, in a modern agile team. with collaboration and autonomy. I want people to grow beyond their boxes. I want them to learn all the time. I want them to propose new things. I want them to have autonomy. The last thing I want is for people to be boxed in, right? Centralizations, most compensation processes, right? In most of them, the final call is made by a manager or a small circle, a small group of managers. And this gives rise to all sorts of biases. And even if the managers, they try to be, perfectly fair and, do all the work and calibrate and everything, they're simply people that often are external to the team, right? If we have like 20 people here and we have 3 people deciding our salaries, there's someone who doesn't know our work that well. They're not in the trenches with us. It's like, I remember when you gave the example of a team doing a group, right, doing schoolwork, doing a project for school, for college. If you have 5 people, the teacher might not know how much each person contributed to the project, but the people in the team, they know very well who did what and how much each person contributed, right? So
yeah, there's no question about that. And it mirrors the compensation world just perfectly, because so often the raises or acknowledgement is equal, and it just isn't the way it works. In organizations, business, school projects, building a fence in your backyard, there's people that work harder, right? And they should be highlighted in some way, form, or another to acknowledge them for their extra work.
So precisely. So and the team knows who these people are. So having a centralized, right, having this separate in a manager or in a small circle of managers creates this alienation and creates this mistrust, right? The criteria employed are never completely clear, and this brings resentment, right? The team will often perceive compensation as unfair. This resentment in turn causes turnover, because when skilled employees become unhappy about their workplace, the most common reaction is to switch jobs. So what we want is for the team to participate, for the team to collaborate, and for the team as a whole to decide, hey, this is how much each person should get, right? Preserving the budget for the team. So they're sharing a compensation budget. They're not creating extra money for the team. This is our final goal here. If we ask people, if we use, let's say, 180 or 360 degree reviews, basically the questions that we ask boil down to, who should get a raise. And it's what always happens is that many more people deserve raises than the company can actually pay, right? It's a natural inflation of appraisals, right? This comes from our traits in our teams, like optimism, ambition, friendship, mutual aid. So this diagram here, it shows a tendency of these crosses on the right, these values on the right. They show, this clustering shows this natural tendency of always having appraisal inflation in our team. So we can't ask that question, right? We can't simply ask in an absolute scale how much should each person get or who should get raises. What we need to ask, right, the right question to ask is, how big a slice of the pie should each person get, right? How big of a slice does each colleague deserve? So if you say someone should get a bigger slice, the others will automatically get a smaller slice. If you say someone got a smaller slice, the others will automatically get a bigger slice. So there's no way that the team can create this inflation. Everyone should get raises. They have to share the budget. The thing is, there is no way. When you have multiple people doing this appraisal in such a way, there's no way to combine these results. There wasn't a way, at least. So I created an algorithm that allows us to combine all these results from everyone in our team, tens, hundreds of people in a team, can appraise their colleagues, and they don't even have to appraise everyone. They can appraise only the ones they know, and with a varying degree of certainty. I'll show that how it works. It isn't a simple like, oh, let's just take an average and that's okay, we're done, right? It's a dynamic algorithm that finds the perfect balance of all these appraisals. So this is the result we want in the end. Okay, I have let's say I have a budget here. This team has a compensation budget, and it's made of 6 people. So I want to know how these people would share the budget, how they view, right? How in their view each person has contributed. So Sydney there deserves 14.9, Kim 17.1, and so on. We wish to know within the team's collective opinion what percentage of the compensation budget each one deserves to make. This is the result produced by the process, right? Team set salaries. In other words, it will always conform to the team's compensation budget. Okay.
Right, because in most cases, whenever they're mapping out their compensation and they're getting 360 reviews, there's a curve. There's a bell curve that has to be in place. I'm thinking in 80% of compensation planning, right? Just because the managers and their peers aren't necessarily aware of that budget cap. So they're going to say, oh yeah, Stu did a great job. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality is that, it really just comes down to a disappointment in a sense, because if the compensation budget hasn't been allocated, then they're not necessarily going to get those reflections in their actual pay, or in this case, probably more so their peer praise is equally as important as the pay increments.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It can also happen that for a new team, it can also happen that everyone is evolving together. So the proportions will stay more or less the same between people. But and then this budget raise has to be negotiated by the team as a whole with a company, right? You start negotiating budgets for a team and not for specific individuals, right? This here is to help you decide, for example, if you have a budget for raises, who should get raises and how much each person should get, right? The last thing you want to do is, let's say the team already finds that someone here, in this case, let's say Alex, right? Alex has the lowest contribution here in the team's opinion, 12.3 here, right? If he already is one of the largest salaries and I still give him a raise, the team will be very, very angry with this. So using this opinion from the team, this result, we can give raises to the correct people.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a compensation process for autonomous and multidisciplinary teams. Okay, it applies an elegant algorithm in order to achieve a fair result, balancing all teams' appraisals. I'll show you exactly how it works soon, right? It's used to establish salaries, profit sharing, partitioning of bonuses, and even company shares. We have clients using it for all sorts of sharing bonuses and equity, that kind of thing. It's used by managers in hierarchical companies and also at horizontal companies, right? So it can simply be used by a manager in a traditional company who wants to pay fair salaries for his team. It solves the lack of adequate compensation solutions for systems such as holacracy, sociocracy, teal, and management 3.0, right? Management 3.0 has that idea of formula-based salaries, which is a very complex formula. Even the simple case, the simple example given in the textbook is a really complicated formula with 13 elements in it. And one of the elements is the person's level. So we're back to square zero. Who decides, which level each person is in? And holacracy, sociocracy, they simply, throw more people and more conversation, to the problem. Oh, you can have self-set salaries, you can have compensation circles, but it's simply, adding, more people, more stress, more conversation, and this scales just to a certain point. You can have everyone in a room if you have maybe 8 people, 10 people, but when you start having 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 people, you can't have 100 people in a room, right, deciding salaries. Another thing with all of these is that a person's negotiation skills and charisma, personality, when they have to negotiate with groups, their personality has a really big impact. So we don't want this. We want people who are maybe more introverted to be able to have a fair chance as well. a few results from companies using TSS, up to 66.7 turnover reduction, 9.2 direct savings in team costs. This is without taking into account, you know, morale effects and stuff like that. Just from the cost of having to replace these people.
Yeah, well, the interesting thing, sorry, if you could go back, is that 67%. Those people, you know, you're always going to have turnover, right? But this is going to limit, or not limit, reduce the amount of turnover that you have with your A players. And you know, like one good A player, you know, depending on the project, especially, you know, when it comes to certain industries, certain things, not so much in production, but in software development or sales, sometimes one A player can, you know, can parlay out to 3 C players, right? As far as productions go. So by keeping your A players on the radar, acknowledged, engaged, and give them the opportunity to be compensated more fairly, you know, you're really addressing, you know, the potential bleed in an organization, instead of, you know, the total retention. You know, you're focusing on the people that you really need to keep.
And in many companies, you have, you know, employees want to have higher salaries. They want to earn as you know, more and more, and you have management sort of trying to pay the minimum they can, right? So there is sort of an unspoken tug of war in this negotiation, right? So when managers come and say, "Hey guys, let's go," you know, we're all in the same boat, it's sort of, you know, a bit hypocritical. It isn't quite true. The way I like to work is I'll set the team's budget as a rule for the product success or for the company success. I'll say, you know, 60% of the product's revenue after taxes will be the team's, and we will share. Okay, so this is the team budget. How will we share this pie? We'll use, you know, team set salaries was the Percival approach to share it. So now we're actually all in the same boat. We all have the interest in, you know, making the product be as successful as possible, and we all participate in how it's shared. So, you know, now we are literally all in the same boat. The negotiation part is gone. You know, I don't have to revisit it every 6 months or every year, have a new negotiation and all of that. So how does it work? A round of team set salaries is periodically performed so that each team member independently appraises the contribution of their colleagues, expressing how big a slice of the cake would be fair for each one in their opinion. Okay, so let the video loop again here. Okay, so it started again. So I'm saying, well, I think Jamie was the person who had the greatest contribution, and then Kelly came in second, along with Kim, and Alex was the one with the least contribution. Okay, so these levels here, I'm showing 4 levels, but you can have infinite levels. Each level represents a difference in 20% in contribution. So I'm saying I believe Jamie should get 20% more, right? She contributed 20% more than Kelly and Kim, who were tied. In my view, Kelly and Kim should get 20% more than Sadie and Andre, and they should get 20% more than Alex. This is an exponential scale, right? So that you have infinite number of levels. One of my companies had 60 people from the intern to the CEO, spanning 12 levels here, and everyone appraised everyone in the company. It was a very flat company.
Right, and just to make some clarity here, you can't put this, so there's no way to just put everybody on the top level and say I'm done, right? It won't allow you to do that.
Yeah, that's a good question. As you can see, the levels, they're not labeled. So there isn't really a difference if I put everyone on the top level or everyone on the bottom level. There is no difference to the result. What I'm expressing is the difference between people. So if I put everyone on the same level, even if it's the top or the bottom, what I'm saying is I believe everyone should get the same. I believe everyone should be paid the same. So the team can do this. Oh, we're going to share this equally. They can have a pact and say this has never happened in over like 18 years of using the process, but it could, right? So this is why we don't have the problem with inflation. I can't say, oh, everyone did well or everyone did badly. If I put everyone at the top, I'm just saying everyone should get the same, in my view.
Yeah.
Right. So it's always a relative comparison. It's not an absolute comparison.
And so let me run you through. Sorry, I know this is not scripted, but let me run you through a scenario. So
questions are good.
Yeah. So and by the way, the audience or people sitting on, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. If Sydney, say Sydney's on this project or on this team, but she's only, she's got 25% or 1 day a week, 20% 1 day a week that she's dedicated to that team. Can it factor in things like that? So
yeah, when I have the question you're asking the people to appraise, right? You can configure this question. So you can simply ask, how much did each person contribute? When I have part-time people working hours, I rather ask, how much is 1 hour of this person worth to the team? It's easier to compare people's contribution like on an hourly basis than having to think, well, this person came 20 hours, this other person came 10, but he had that result. So I prefer to, when people are part-time, I prefer to ask, how much is 1 hour of this person worth, and then we just multiply by the amount of hours. I found it easier. And these blue boxes here, can you see? These blue boxes are the degree of certainty with which I know these people's work. So I can have here a degree which is 0, which means I don't know this person's work at all. Very low, low, high, and very high. So this is a how do you call it, like a weighting that I'll give myself from 0 to 1. So my appraisal will have a certain weight. If I know this person little, it'll have a little weight. If the more I know this person, like Andre, it'll have a weight of 1, right? 100% weight. So the people that know you better end up influencing better your results for the better or for worse. So these are the results it calculates, right? The algorithm is implemented in this tool called Percival. The site is percival.live. The name Percival comes from a contraction of the words perceived value. Okay. So here in the results, I can see in gray is the team's result, and in blue, my opinion, my appraisal. Right, the own person's appraisal. So Julia is the one looking at the screen now. That's why she doesn't have an appraisal for herself, and she can see that her opinion, for Bruno was 12 and the team was 12.3. So she was almost on the spot here. She agreed with the team. Here she agreed exactly with the team, as a coincidence for Anand. For Ayana, she believes Ayana deserved 20.6 and the team's result was 19.3. So for each person, the person can see how their opinion diverged from the teams. And the manager, the administrator, can see these differences in opinion for everyone, for all appraisers and appraisees. So if people are trying to help each other, for example, trying to cheat or something like that, it's easy to see, look, like Julia appraised Ayana, let's say 2-3 levels above the team, and Ayana appraised Julia 2-3 levels above the team. Will be immediately visible from the results.
A great way to remove some to show some transparency into the organization, that's for sure.
Exactly. So if the team is already used to doing appraisals, 360 appraisals with transparency, people know each other's salary, you can publish these results and you have transparency for the team. If it's still a more more closed company, you can have these results just for the manager, and then with time you can as you gain confidence with them, you can open them as the team gains maturity. But you can start off just looking at the results as a manager. And then making decisions based on that.
Now, can you run this same? Sorry, can you run the same thing in different categories? So let's say you want to get rid of your small company, a couple hundred people, and you want to get rid of your performance process, and you think that, hey, this might be an easy way to do it, right? So
Yeah.
could you just go, could you change the parameters? So you might say, here, I want you to rank your department based off of different variables, or, you know,
Like different criteria, right?
yeah. So could you say based off of teamwork, based off of knowledge, based off of
Deliveries,
deliveries, right?
potential. Yeah. You could do that. You would have a problem later joining all these things. You get back to the problem of who decides in the end, you know, who put all these things together. So you can have these different categories, if you like, as an information, simply to help people improve, stuff like that. But in the end, it's good to have like, okay, now let's put all of these together. Please appraise people, taking everything into account, you know, globally, holistically, the entire contribution and potential into account. So that because if you have these separate criteria, you have a real hard time, you know, joining them. If someone is excellent on one criteria and, you know, mediocre on the other two, compared to someone who is good on all three criteria, who is worth more? Again, it's a subjective call, right? You can't really have a formula for this. Most companies try to gain objectivity by having these several different criteria, but what happens is they realize that they can't really combine these things later, so they end up having like only 2 or 3 really vague, really broad criteria. It's better to have a single one and say, guys, how much did each person contribute? Please appraise. And because people have a perception of fairness, right? They have an opinion of fairness. If I believe that Ayana should get more than Anand, if the result is different, regardless of how the appraisals are done, I'll think that's unfair, right? I'll be angry at that. So if I can express, if I have an expression of fairness, an opinion of fairness, I can express this in an appraisal. That's what we try to do with Percival, is have the appraisals as closely as possible as to a person's expression of fairness, right? Their perception of fairness. So going back here to how people do the appraisal, this screen here mirrors, right, how I can express my perception of fairness in the team. I believe Jamie, you know, should get the most, and then Kellen came, and then Sydney, Alex, and Alex in the end. I can skip levels if I want. I can put many people in the same level. It's not a stack ranking, right? I don't have to rank everyone from, you know, individually. I can group people together. I can skip values, skip levels here. Okay.
Yeah, it really is an interesting. Can I just answer this or ask you this question before we move on? So it is, how would it work for those who may find themselves in multiple teams providing a value contribution across the organizations, and what say you're pertaining to those who are driven to move the team they're on, and also contributing value on the overall company as well. So you might want to read that. Sorry, I will fully admit I'm going to get new glasses on Thursday, so it was a little choppy. But so
I can see two questions there, right? One is people in multiple teams, right? And another one is people contributing to the company, maybe outside their own team, right? So this result here, let me show you. This is a result from an actual client of ours. They blurred out the names, but they published this result. So this is a result for a 30-person engineering team composed of 6 squads. Okay, 6 5-person squads, and they had enough communication between the squads, right? They're software development squads, so you have some designers working with more than one squad. You have project managers working with more than one squad, tech leaders working with more than one squad. You have people that pair across squads. You have people who left one squad and joined another one. So if we look at this diagram here, for example, right? These colors are the different squads, and the little the nodes are people, and the lines are appraisals. So you can see that within a team, within the same squad, you have many appraisals, but you also have a few appraisals spanning, right, different teams, among different teams. So this is enough. If you have 3 or 4 appraisals coming in or out of your different teams, you can put everyone in the same appraisal round. Okay, and there's no limit to the amount of people connected, right? You can have
No, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, the tool will support hundreds of people in different teams. So imagine
while you still have that image up, I just want to get a little bit of clarity too. So let's pretend the line is India or something like that, and the blue might be your New York City office. So they're obviously going to be on different pay structures as far as base pay. How does how would that be factored in? So somebody theoretically could make $5 an hour, and somebody's making $50 an hour. How does that all mix in?
You can have rules which are applied. Which are applied like on top of this result. So you can say, okay, people who live in New York live closer to our clients, so and have a higher cost of living, so we were going to give them 30% more on top of this result here, for example. You can have some rules like this, but at least you have a vision of the contribution in the entire team, right? You don't have to decide ad hoc, like case by case, calibrate case by case. You can have a few. Another example I like to give is suppose we have a single COBOL engineer, right? My examples all are from the software industry. Suppose we have a COBOL engineer, and he's critical because one of our clients is a bank, and the team doesn't value him, right? The team will put him down low here. The manager can say, look, I'm going to give this COBOL person a 50% increase based on this result, because we have a critical client, right? And we need this skill in our team. And you're not appraising this value, this skill as we should. And the team will understand that, as a manager, I can have strategic, some rules or some strategic moves, but at least I don't have to, calibrate the entire thing, have one-on-one discussions with everyone all the time. And I can have a few, rules like this, but at least the person's base level, I know, right?
Gotcha.
But on the other hand, if these teams you said like our silos are completely, one is the sales team in India, and the other one is, software development team in wherever, somewhere else in Argentina, and they don't know each other. They're in the same company, but they hardly ever communicate. So you have to do separate rounds. It is a call that the team or the manager has to make and decide: can these people appraise each other well, or should it be separate rounds? The criteria is that they have to know each other's work at least a bit to do a few appraisals among them, right?
Right. Does that answer your question?
There was another part to the question relating maybe a person helping outside the team, helping the company in other, other parts of the company. That has to be compensated separately. If the team cannot appraise, that has to be compensated separately. I have used this for entire companies as well. So as I said, in that case, from the intern to the CEO, we had 60 people in the same company appraising. We had salespeople, we had even our lawyer, developers, all appraising each other. And as you can see here, you don't necessarily have to appraise everyone. You only appraise the people that you know, like here as well, right? This blue person here doesn't appraise the entire company necessarily. He can appraise only a few people, right? The people that he knows, and the algorithm is able to find the best result, taking all of that into account. This is the pricing. It's $1 per user per month, paid annually. The benefits. Do we have more questions, David?
Sorry, I got sidetracked. I was actually thinking I was going to. We do have a question. I was going to. Nope. It's just a thank you for.
Thank you. I can see the questions now. Okay.
Yeah. I was. I got a little sidetracked. I was thinking about that poll I put out just to see if we could get opinions based off of reactions to it, but I don't know if I can load it into the chat quick enough. So,
okay. So to conclude, right, we have clear numerical results. Find out exactly how much each person deserves to make in the team's opinion. This is important, right? It's the team's vision. A fair result, being the result of a collective process. Not only is it fair, but is also perceived by the group as fair. It's compliant with the compensation budget. The total sum of results for every team member will always equate to the team's compensation budget. Unlike 360-degree appraisals, there are no inflated results. Custom transparency, you can have 4 levels of transparency, from closed results to open appraisals for the whole team. Appraisals are made in the most natural and precise way for human beings through relative comparison, right? It's much easier for me to say, okay, I believe these 2 people are the same, or this one is, contributes a bit more, than to try and place these people on some sort of an absolute scale, right? They do different things, and I have to place them on the same scale. Is like having an absolute ear, right, for music. What is this note? Absolutely, oh, it's a C sharp. I have no idea what this note is. But if I hear 2 notes, it's very easy. It's trivial for anyone to know which one is a higher pitch, right? So we do these appraisals by comparing people. Level of certainty, each person will only appraise the colleagues they know, also rating the level of certainty in their appraisal between very low and very high. Fraud detection, Percival will point out appraisals that differ greatly from the team's opinion. Okay, and then we call these people in for a chat, right? Often they do have a good reason to differ in opinion. Oh, you didn't see, but she every week she stays up like 3-4 nights and she fixes all the critical bugs, and no one is seeing this. I'm the only person seeing that, and that's okay. People can have different opinions, and that's great. Percival is taking them into account. But if people don't have a good explanation, right, then they're they're advised to stop cheating, right? And an important thing here is that you can finally separate talent development from the quantitative compensation issue, right? Percival will solve the compensation issue and allow management to focus on talent development in an independent way. So you can have qualitative questions, qualitative feedback, right? Percival doesn't prescribe any kind of, it's agnostic to what feedback mechanisms you want to use. So you can use these qualitative feedback mechanisms to, for people to know what they should do to improve and to have talent development. And this isn't like mercenarily, fixed to compensation. Oh, Klaus, to improve, you have to be more, sympathetical to our clients. You have to treat our clients better. Well, what do you mean? What should I do? Oh, you should smile more. Oh, if I smile like this, how many more dollars will I get? When you tie these 2 things together, it becomes very like a mercenary thing in many situations. So you can simply have, one thing is your compensation. Another thing is the things you have to improve. They aren't necessarily tied together. You can finally have them separate. A few of our customers' testimonials from Objective Solutions, from WebGoal. And that's it.
Yeah, it's thank you very much, guys. It's really interesting to be honest with you, from watching this. So we have another question that comes in. So I'll just ramble there for a second here, Klaus, if you can just get a grip of that question. So when I first started speaking with Percival, I was really trying to figure out how this would be seen or where it would be, who would use it. And to tell you the truth, the more conversations I've had, I've seen more and more instances where people could use this. I believe, starting from the top, you actually have a customer, Klaus, that uses it to determine stock options.
Yeah.
So
They
this, go ahead.
it's a company called The Ready. Their CEO is Aaron Dignan, right? The author of Brave New Work. They used the process for a few years to share equity. They even did it retroactively for a few years before, because they didn't have a solution to do it, for previous years. So they did it retroactively, and then they used it for another couple of years to share equity between the partners. There are 24 consultants, something like that, and they shared equity in the company that way. There's a question here. Can you see who or what would own the accountability of deeming what value contribution would be? A developer would argue that writing 1 million lines of code contribute more than a consultation lead at a consulting firm who deals with 4 clients in multiple industries. Would this place different domain expertise on an equal playing field based on a peer-to-peer appraisal? So someone has to make this call, right? Someone has to decide, if 1 million lines of code or if this consulting is worth more. If I believe, look, I'm as a manager, as a CEO, I'm the only person, capable of deciding, then I have to keep them separate, and I will decide. But if I believe that as peers, you have other people in the company, you have sales people, you have consultants, developers, designers, admin people. If you have other people able to do this calibration, instead of having putting five directors in a room and spending 20 hours doing calibration, you can have a tool where people are appraising each other, including the directors. And then this perception of how much each thing is worth will come out. It's the same people doing the decision, right? If it has to be 5 people or 50 or 100 people, you can include all these people in the decision making. So that's the thing. It's a subjective call, and you can have a single manager do it, or you can, if you want to open it to the team, Percival allows you to do that. Typically, you won't start if you have 1,000 people in a company. You won't start with 1,000 people in a single round. You'll start with smaller teams and grow as you gain confidence, as your company gains maturity.
So a follow-up question, would this be best suited for people operations or in HR? And what are your thoughts and benefits on that? So,
in operations, right? It's the teams themselves deciding. Normally, HR is separate. It's like a separate team from the actual. If you have a software development team, software development squads, HR would be separate. So the idea is for the teams themselves to appraise how much each person contributed.
Yeah, and I would think that it is also really depends on the way an internal organization is set up, right? If HR's got the strategy, then HR is running it, right? But so we
if HR is currently called to appraise people based on values and behaviors and things like that, they can also take part in the round, in the appraisal round with Percival as together with the other people. No problem at all.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was interesting. I haven't shared with you, but I wasn't exactly sure how to categorize this. So I put in a few different options, and really you could make a case for all of these. So one was merit pay. So if your organization is thinking about bonuses or perhaps rewards and recognition software where there's a small amount of money that's added to the pot for whatever reason. This, at $1 a person, this would be a great way to make that stick, right? So I did merit pay, team set salaries, performance pay, agile compensation, peer performance pay, variable pay, and rewards and recognition pay. And literally the statistics right across the board were almost even. So so it really and whenever that happens, I always think it really depends on how your organization's set up and to what value and how you want to use it. And it's not a big price ticket, right? So it could be.
What I find is for smaller companies, performance appraisal and compensation are more or less the same thing. But for larger companies, you have, performance appraisal is one thing, comp is something completely different. The comp people don't even decide how performance appraisal is done. Once people's levels are decided, then compensation comes in and finds the best way to compensate these people. But they don't, they have no influence or very little influence on how performance is measured. So for small companies, it's like compensation. For larger companies, it's, performance appraisal.
Yeah. At the end of the day, the performance appraisal to comp, they really just need the number or the letter, right? Yeah. But it was interesting. So in thinking about this, in the US, the labor shortage is, pretty crazy, and there's big bonuses that are being put out to attract new talent, and really what is minimum wage doesn't really even apply anymore, because you're fighting for talent at $3 more an hour than you were, or what minimum wage is. And I was thinking, what if you hired 10 people or 20 people, and after 3 months, you said, okay, I'm putting a reward or a bonus pot of money, and if you 10 or 20 or 30 or however many people, you're going to split this bonus up and you're going to rate each other. Well, that would be a great way, to find out who's working. It would be a great way to incentivize people and acknowledge and understand who the top performers are, so that you can get them on board and anchored into your organization to grow. Right? So there's just so many instances I see. I think of them almost every day now that I've seen your video of what I would do with it if I had the right opportunity.
Yeah, one of the largest, the largest sugar and ethanol company in Brazil, they held a hackathon for Coca-Cola, one of the largest clients, and they needed a solution for Coca-Cola. So they brought 50 people from all over the company, different areas, logistics, app development, production, all over the place. 50 people in a hackathon to produce a solution for Coke. And they wanted to appraise these people to see who had contributed more. How are you going to contribute? How are you going to appraise a hackathon? People's contribution in a hackathon with 50 people from all over the country for maybe a weekend. How are you going to do that? So they used Percival at the end, and Percival is so easy to use, so little. It's not intrusive, right? So little intrusive. It takes 15 minutes for people to appraise, their colleagues to express their opinion in the screen there. So it was a way that they found to simply, they gave a prize to the top 5, and that's it. They just wanted, peer recognition to give a prize to people who contributed the most.
That's awesome. Hey, while you touch on that, so what is involved in setting this up? Right. So how difficult is it if you had, a 50-person office or 1,000-person office? How hard is it to get this into, up and functioning?
You can import teams using a spreadsheet, right? So it's simply people's emails and names, like a column with an email, column with a name. I can import a team. 50, 60, 100 people, doesn't matter. And if you have multiple teams, and if you want to integrate this to some system you already have, like say your company has thousands of people, you're not going to, you know, tens of different teams and thousands of, you're not going to do this using spreadsheets. So we can implement a integration using the API, and we're a software development company. We started as a software, so for us it's trivial to integrate with any tool that has an API for that.
Yeah, so we were speaking with somebody that had Workday, and literally, you know, a 3-minute conversation, we got the impression, or they got the impression that the integration based off of Klaus's background was not a problem, and and it could be, you know, put right into their dashboard if they wanted to. So.
And if you're just starting with 2-3 teams, you can import the teams using spreadsheets, and you're good to go.
Awesome. All right. Any other questions before we close her up? I don't see any. So I will thank you for your time. And we will send out a copy of this presentation to everybody that registered and is on. And so as well as details how to get on Klaus's calendar if you want a private demo or have any further questions.
Yeah, just send me an email on this email over there, or the calendar as well.
Yeah, I'll drop that out and CC on it, and everybody can take action as required. All right, thanks for your time, Klaus.
Thank you, David. See you. Bye-bye.